Everyone, welcome to Wigan Fan TV. Myself and David Bailey this evening, and Mr. Matt Macaulay is lost in cyberspace somewhere. He was here, and we were joking about how every time I'm on with Matt, something seems to go wrong. And literally, as I was putting the squads, the Wigan squad and the Warrington squad on screen, he disappeared. So I think he is safe, but he's just lost in cyberspace at this moment in time. So just be prepared for Matt Macaulay to just appear at some point. I'm sure it's a sort of the entrance that he would like to make anyway. So we'll leave him there. So good evening to everybody. Wigan versus Warrington, the 5th time this season. We're sick of talking about Wigan against Warrington, and we might have a 6th time, obviously, if both make it to the grand final. David, let's get straight in with, I guess, reaction to. Let's talk about Warrington first. We'll talk about Jackson Hastings, Sam Powell, Danny Walker, all the rumours and everything that's happening later on in the show. Basically, Steve Price came out early this week and said, I'm resting players for the Warrington game. That's the squad. They're missing Chris Hill. They're missing Tyrone Roberts. They're missing Cooper. They're missing Kevin Brown. Does it take a little bit of the shine off the game for you, do you think? Yeah,
it kind of gives a bit of credibility, I suppose, to what Ian Lenigan and the other Super League chairman are trying to get rid of as well, which we'll probably come to later. But yeah, it certainly takes a bit of the shine off it. It's almost as though they're resting players now in preparation for the semi-final they're going to get.
Matt's on screen. Just in case you didn't know, Matt, you are now on screen. Thank you for joining us. Better late than never. Where did you go?
I don't know. I thought you'd killed me.
I mean, we've tried. I mean, Martin says that he blames Brexit, which, it's a good reason for most things in life at this moment in time. But sorry, David, carry on. We were talking about whether, Matt, just to bring you up to speed, whether the Warrington squad, they're missing sort of 4 front line, both props, both half-backs, whether that takes a shine off the game. Sorry, carry on, David, I interrupt you. Yeah. We'll blame Matt.
Well, that's right. I used to go to school with Martin as well, actually, Martin Ogden, back in the day.
Did you?
Many, many years ago, yeah. So, hi, Matt.
There we go.
All right, mate.
Friends reunited.
Definitely. Yeah, it certainly takes a bit of the shine off the game. Probably puts us a little bit as favourites. I know we're going to be missing Joe Greenwood, but we've got quite a bit in the back row. We can look to maybe Partington will get another shot. But yeah, just you think it's a dead rubber by all accounts. Wigan and Cass and Warrington are sort of vying for a home semi, but I think it's probably more likely to be Wigan or Cass than Warrington at this stage.
Gary rightly points out, even though that it was on the screen, that Kevin Brown is in the squad, and I just said that he isn't. I mean, Steve Price did come out early in the week and said that he's going to play Declan Patton and Harvey Livette in the half. So interesting to see that Kevin Brown's in the squad. It's a bit of a strange decision after they've come out earlier in the week. Matt, your thoughts on the, I guess, the game as a whole? Like David said, it does have that dead rubber feel about it. We've obviously beat Saints 2 weeks ago. The anticlimax of the Wakefield game, which I promised everybody would be an anticlimax, and then we've got three games leading into a semi-final. I guess it's a problem with the structure, isn't it? But your thoughts on Warrington choosing to rest players for this game, as well as obviously missing players?
Doesn't make any difference to me because it is still beating Warrington at the end of the day. And while I'd rather beat them with a full complement of Warrington players. They've still got some good players. They've still got that Brill Cream Godwin and Darryl Clark. He's playing, isn't he? So they've still got these players.
I mean, like I say, I had the squads back on the screen. I had the squad on me, and I was reading players that were unavailable but clearly available. So just ignore what I'm saying. But yeah, I mean, they've still got a good side, haven't they? But obviously, the direct correlation to that is the fact that Wayne's come out today and said Manfredi will play after I told everybody that he would play 2 weeks ago. Now, I think Sean Wayne's word is probably better than my word on that. We've discussed it previously. Well, yeah, in some things. Matt, your thoughts on finally seeing Manfredi back playing? Is this a perfect game for him, bearing in mind he's going to be coming up against Josh Charnley as well?
That is going to be interesting, isn't it? That's going to make it really quite tasty. At some point, they're going to go in to tackle each other, and there's going to be a little hug. It's going to make it special. But the bottom line is, I'm going up on the train, which means I've got to go through Warrington to get there. And as I go through, looking at the faces of those Warrington supporters, it's going to cheer me up knowing we've got a better chance of winning.
Okay, fair enough. And just a hug, like of all the things I was expecting to come out of your mouth, then I feel like the hug is like the toned down, sort of censored version of what was actually going through your head at that moment in time. So I'll thank you for that, Matt.
What do you think of me? I'm a vicar's son.
I know that's a problem. That is mainly the problem most of the times. Andy's watching in Birmingham. Good evening, Andy. Thank you for joining us. David, the Wigan squad, Manfredi's obviously in. He was in the squad last week, didn't play. Tautai back from a 4-game suspension. Kind of forgotten about Tautai a little bit. Liam Paisley back in after impressing earlier in the season. Sean O'Loughlin's out, and Joe Greenwood is out for the tackle that kind of nearly injured him rather than the opposition. I feel like he's just been suspended from the RFL for being sort of unsafe with his own body. It's the most ridiculous suspension after Luke Thompson was banned for celebrating. But your thoughts on the Wigan squad?
Suspended for being a bit of a klutz.
Yeah, just can we stop being silly, Joe? Just let's calm it down. Let's just tackle properly. We're going to have to suspend you for 1 game. But David, your thoughts on that squad? Tautai for me is an interesting one. Has he got a point to prove? Do you think 4 games out, and we've not really missed him, have we?
No, exactly. You've got, you've had the likes of Flower, Club, Sutton all playing well. So props not really an issue at the moment for us. So yeah, Tautai will probably hopefully come on and be the impact player that he was at Wakefield, because we've not seen that, as much this season as we have done in seasons gone by. Second row, like I said, even though there's no Liam Farrell, obviously, and Joe Greenwood's now out, and Sean O'Loughlin's out, I still think we've got plenty in the back row. You've got the likes of Bateman, you've got the likes of Partington could come in. There's plenty there in the back row. I think forwards-wise we're okay. I think it'll be interesting at half-back. Obviously, Navarrete. That goes without saying, Matt, these days. He's the first name on the team sheet for everybody.
I feel like we need a Navarrete box. Every time he mentions Navarrete, he's got to put 5 in.
Well, they can put it into the drinks kitty, can't he?
Yeah, nice segue. If anybody would like to donate, so what we set up this year, what we just set up, and it's in the comments as well, like David just said, is basically for the whole game. I think all 3 of us will be there. Matt will be there as well. Mark will be there. Sorry, Matt will be there. So if anybody's watched this show and thought, do you know what, I'd love to buy them a beer, I'm sure many people have. You would like to, there's a link just in there. Basically, coffee. It's supposed to be basically buy somebody a coffee, but I'm not going to buy the guys a coffee. I'd rather buy them a beer. So it's coffee, but with a hyphen in and spelt incorrectly, .com/Wigan. If you'd like to, buy us a beer for the end of the season, that'd be very much appreciated. Thank you very much. A nice segue, David.
Absolutely.
And people have actually donated so far. Can you believe that?
I think we're about 6 now, aren't we?
6 beers. We can share 6 beers between 4 or 5 of us.
1.5 each at the minute.
Yeah, it's incredible. Good maths as well, or bad maths, I'm not too sure. So I'm guessing, we're going to talk about, if anybody's got any questions for us, by the way, just add them into the comments and we'll perhaps go off on a tangent. We certainly want to talk about Jackson Hastings. And the reason why we're starting with the Warrington preview early is just to try and get it out of the way, because I'm sick of previewing Wigan versus Warrington. Matt, I assume you expect a Wigan win. Do you think there's a danger sort of lowering the expectations from Warrington, that it gives them a free rein to maybe sort of no pressure on them, no pressure on Wigan, likewise as well, I guess. We're comfortable at this moment in time. I think we need to win maybe 1.5 games, don't we, really, to secure second place. Do you expect Wigan to win, and do you think there's a danger by lowering the expectations on Warrington?
I think Wigan will win. I don't think there'll be any complacency from Wigan. I think Wigan have got the bit between the teeth now. And just kind of reading some of the comments from Warrington supporters, some of them are saying, well, sometimes Wigan beat us when they've got a load of young kids in the team, so it must be our turn now. Warrington supporters, I'm not sure logic works like that.
It does in Warrington.
Well, yeah.
Guys, can you be careful? I am there at the minute.
Yeah, exactly. Should we talk a little bit louder? David's in Warrington. You might want to close your windows, David.
So, which street was that, David? What?
Wilderspool Way.
I think I know it.
You probably do as well. So you expect a Wigan win. You
Yes.
basically say that Warrington's kids are rubbish. Wigan's kids are much better than them. They need to stop whinging. What do you think the score will be?
I think the score will be Wigan 29, Warrington 16.
I'm not even going to ask you about the drop goal because you just,
Yeah,
exactly. I'm feeding his ego by asking him about it. I've learned. It's only taken me a full season to do it. David, again, I assume you think a Wigan victory and what margin?
Yeah, I know you're saying about lowering expectations. I think the crucial point is whether or not Price is good to his word with the half-backs. I think since Wayne made the switch of Macualay and Powell, Wigan have looked a different team attacking-wise. So I think it'll probably be a comfortable win because I think they'll win that half-back battle quite comfortably. I'm thinking probably 38, 40 points to 10.
Wow.
I just think that, as Matt said, Wigan have got the bit between the teeth. And I think a lot of that as well coincides with, as Sean Wayne put it, the circus surrounding Lam and Edwards. And I think that upset and annoyed Sean Wayne quite a lot. And he's probably now got that siege mentality back. And not for the club, but for him as a person, for his own pride, his own ego, to go, do you know what? I'm going to show you. And, I can see a similar scoreline to when we beat Saints, to be honest.
Good. Yeah,
I don't think it's even that. I don't think it's the Lam and Edwards thing. I think it was always going to be the case at this point in the season. This was when Wigan were going to step up. And I think as soon as Wayne knew he was leaving, I think that's his motivation. I don't think he's going to be too fussed about Lam and Edwards or whoever was following. I think what his motivation is he's going, he wants to finish on a real high.
I mean, his reaction after the St. Helens game was like, it took me a while to actually understand what was happening. Not because I'm thick, but because it just yes, it was your last game at St. Helens, but for him to go out onto the pitch, it was like, have I missed something here? He's going, it's St. Helens, it's your last derby at Saints, you're winning that, I get that. But it just, I don't know, I'm still missing something in the puzzle. And I do think it is something that David touched upon and we spoke about last week, this whole siege mentality that he managed to manifest so perfectly, I think, in 2016 and backs against the wall. And that is his strength, I think, when it comes to man management. And I think that is the angle that he's definitely going down. But he does, the next three games, you just want to get on with the semi-final, don't we? You just want to, it's just, and that is a point with the structure. And lots of people are asking things about the structure and this is a really good one. People are asking about the structure. Tommy Luluai to retire at the end of the season, ? We're being asked to go into the South Stand bar to do a bit of promo before the game. Probably not allowed, Martin, but that's a good idea. How do we see the semi-final going? But our good friend Stuart, this is my perfect one. This is amazing. Navarrete is close to the naked run at the end of the season due to not scoring a try. Would Matt do a naked run with him for charity?
You don't even need to be for charity, I don't think.
No, I don't think it needs to be asked. I feel like Matt's mentality has now changed from wanting to see Navarrete to score to hoping that he won't, so he gets to do the run with him.
No, if anything, I want him to score that try more than ever.
I mean, to be honest, if he scores a try, you'll probably get naked by running on the pitch anyway. So, yeah. Stuart's going to
get me at St. Helens.
Yeah, very close. So we'll come on to some of the points that people have made. The league structure, I mean, my head hurts if we talk about the league structure too much because I don't think anybody knows. But the big news last weekend was obviously at the game, the rumours of Jackson Hastings being there. David, did you see him there?
Yeah, I saw him there.
Right,
if not, it was his twin.
Okay, I'm glad you said that because I feel like I felt kind of responsible for starting an unintentional rumour on Friday by following Jackson Hastings on Twitter and putting some little eyeballs next to him and saying hello. And the next thing I know, I got a message on Twitter from Phil Wilkinson saying, "Is Jackson Hastings here?" And I had to reply saying, "I haven't got a clue. I'm 120 miles away in Durham." And then I feel like it escalated and snowballed from there. But I'm glad you can confirm that. You can be the person that actually confirms it. David, your thoughts on potentially Jackson Hastings moving to Wigan? We put Danny Walker in there. That's a rumour that started on Sirius RL today from Widnes, who's a young hooker. And then the implications possibly for Sam Powell. The rumours are that Sam Powell, if Jackson Hastings come, Sam Powell may be the sweetener in the deal to go to Salford. So lots to digest. David, I'll start with you with that.
Yeah, I mean, it's obvious we're going to looking for a halfback for next year. Obviously, under Radlinski's and Lenigan's guys, as we've found out earlier on the season, they're sort of responsible for transfer dealings. Lachlan Lamb, that's all gone quiet, and you'd think that had we getting him, that would have been sorted by now, because it's not like you're dealing with a high-profile star that's negotiating with his current club. You're dealing with somebody that's potentially playing reserve grade next year in Australia or playing for Wigan with his dad. So it's a no-brainer. If it was going to be sorted, I think we'd have heard by now. Jackson Hastings is an interesting one. He's only young still. He's still got a lot to prove, but he's made an impact at Salford. He's a character as well. So, he's very good with his social media game, similar to Gelling. We're going to be losing a little bit of that off-field character and charisma as well with Sam Tompkins off to Catalan. So would he fit in? Yeah.
I don't think Sam Tompkins' off-field antics should be classed as that. He has got previous.
What a character!
Yes, he was. Yes.
Well, more along the lines of his, the supposed Ginger Pearl Faz account that he's responsible for, that he'd never claim responsibility for. But you know what I mean, the character and a bit of something to get people talking. I've not watched a lot of his games, to be honest with you, so I couldn't tell you, in all honesty, how well he's done. But you can read off the rugby media that he is doing a good job at Salford, and obviously there's plenty of interest in him. Again, it's the halfbacks for next season. You've got Lamb coming in as a coach, which will add a different dimension to the game. We're all hoping he'll bring Williams on. If Lamb was coming, bring him on. You've got Josh Woods as well. So there's plenty of options there. And we've been playing well with Tommy. If Tommy's not stepping down for next season, then for me, we're not going to lose too much if we don't recruit Hastings. So yeah, I'd be sorry to see Powell go. And Danny Walker coming in.
People are saying that on here. I'm quite surprised to actually. I'm a big Sam Powell fan as well, and people saying here Powell needs to stay. How genuine that serious about RL account is, I'm not too sure. He might be putting 2 and 2 together and getting 5, but I'm not. When you follow it through, you would think that would somebody possibly has got to go, haven't they, at some point? Matt, have you seen much of Jackson Hastings? I think a lot of Wigan fans after Friday night were determined to watch the Salford game, in which he played really well and got sent off, which was perfect as a sort of scouting mission. Your thoughts on Jackson Hastings and the potential consequence being Sam Powell leaving?
I haven't seen Jackson Hastings play other than his last game. Just remind me, who have Salford beaten while Hastings has been playing for them? What teams have they beaten?
Well, I mean, that's a very good point. But I mean, I think he played really well. Yeah, I wasn't there, but I think one of his star performances was perhaps at Headingley just before the Super 8s. And I think that's the performance that made a lot of people sit up and notice the fact that I think, this is just going, like David said, off media reports, but I think a lot of people are complimenting his arrival at Salford with the revival in form of Robert Louis as well, and they're sort of seeing that very much as potentially an area where he could improve George Williams' game, for example.
Okay, I mean, I'm just a little bit sceptical about it, simply because, to say Salford have suddenly revived and they're beating the likes of Leeds, who at the moment are not the most inspiring team in the world. But I'm not very good at scouting for players. I have the utmost confidence in the Wigan club and their ability to find players, because they tend to come up with bloody good ones. And so I'm just happy to sit back. Andy Powell, fantastic, yeah. His hair mainly. But I'm happy to sit back and let Wigan do the scouting, and I'll just happily get behind whoever they decide to buy. I will be sad to see Sam Powell go, because I think he's been such a hard worker. He's been brilliant, and I think people haven't really noticed a lot of what he's doing.
And I would 100% agree with you, and it's nice to see a lot of people in the comments, saying I don't want Sam Powell to leave, because I think a lot of people perhaps are starting to realise the little things that he does, like you say, and perhaps goes unnoticed. I think as we've discussed off air many times, he struggles with confidence. And I think that's one of the things why they've moved him back to hooker is he's more confident there at this moment in time. I can't believe I'm saying this, but Matt, again, a sensible approach to an answer. Who have Salford played? Like, what's wrong with you?
What have they done with him in that little break?
Exactly. It's just, but yeah, absolutely, you're absolutely right. In 5 good games or whatever it might be against the likes of Leeds, Hull KR, Toronto doesn't make you a player that's going to change a game against St Helens, does it? But that's the other interesting thing as well is I think Salford potentially play at this moment in time with their half slightly different to most other clubs. Normally, you have a right-sided halfback, left-sided halfback, and I think Salford, have adopted a little bit more of the traditional 6 and 7 since Hastings came back, which again is a change in structure. That comes, I guess, to Lama about how he wants to actually play the side next year.
Hasn't he already hinted at that?
As a right and left,
Lam made some hint about what he's going to do about that. I think when he was talking
about his son, he said, how good would it be with Lachlan on the right and George on the left, which, I think probably yes. And I think that's pretty much how most NRL sides play anyway, don't they? But I did a show on here on Rugby League Cup with Steve Mascord and Phil Wilkinson last week. And the interesting thing that I can't even, do you know what I'm talking about, and it's just gone out of my head. It was that interesting that I've just forgotten what I was going to say. Honestly, it was really, really good as well. Like, it was incredible. Like, probably the best contribution I've ever made to the show. And it wasn't even my contribution, it was Phil Wilkinson's, and it's gone. The name in the middle there, Danny Walker, is a young... I've just been changing a nappy 10 minutes.
Have Matt and Sean switch places here?
Yeah,
that's what's happening.
I think so. Honestly, I'm going to go through the comments to try and revive what I was saying. And now I feel like I'm going to build it up so much that it's going to be absolutely crap. But anyway, the name in the middle there, Danny Walker, is a young hooker from Widnes. Obviously, Widnes all but relegated at this moment in time. So I think it's natural, again, that people are going to start assuming that clubs are going to start coming in for their better, talented young players. And Widnes have obviously got a pretty good academy as well of bringing young players through. So I think that's only natural. We said off our concern, I think, between the three of us would be the future of Josh Ganson and the development of Josh Ganson from that as well. So, let's see how that develops over the next couple of weeks. One big question that keeps coming through, and David, I'll come to you first. And I know this is a question that you're asked by Phil Wilkinson for the 18th Man column tomorrow. And interested to know your thoughts on this, as Phil Wilkinson, Philip Tomlinson even says here, league structure. What do you want to see from the meeting on Friday?
Oh, Gary Hetherington to come out and say he was wrong and that Lenigan was right? No.
Hang on, did Gary Hetherington come out?
Strange things
wranglings there for you.
I want to be at that meeting now.
Making it worse. I think the structure's got to change. I think, as you said, Phil asked us this question earlier on for the 18th man, and for me, all the interest at the minute, you said the Warrington game's almost like a dead rubber, and it's as though the middle eights and the £1 million game get as much, or if not more, focus media-wise than the grand final. How can that be right? And then I saw Phil's article today, his interview with Lenigan. I don't know whether you've caught much of that, where he was saying, Lenigan was again saying, with the viewing figures compared to, Sky, compared to qualifiers, with average attendances of, upwards of 8,000 as opposed to 2,000, there's something inherently wrong there when the lower end's getting as much or more media attention. So
I think he said something about the TV audiences dropping from 200,000 to 80,000.
Yeah,
the difference between a Super League game and a qualifier game, which is incredible.
Well, it is, and when you're looking at sort of getting Sky to do another deal, or whether you're looking to sell,
please give us more money, we're getting less audience.
Yeah, it's not going to happen, is it? So I think you need to go back to a traditional promotion relegation. You do need to have something there, which is, because the £1 million game does create that drama and interest, but you still need to have the focus on the elite, the best two teams in the country fighting for a place, for the grand final and for the World Club Challenge for the year after. So yeah, there's something got to give. I mean, it was interesting. I saw some comments on Twitter which just made me laugh and showed you the mentality of some people. And it was following on from Phil Wilkinson's article, and I think it was a Leeds fan, and he put, well, I hope that whatever Lenigan and Wigan want, they don't get on Friday, because it can't be good for the game. By the way, I've not read the article. And it's
I saw that. Yeah, I don't agree with. I've not read it, but I don't agree with you.
Yeah, and it's just I think you've got to get something back. I think we need to change to the format of the playoffs, and certainly promotion and relegation needs to be taken into account. I think the best when we've had the playoffs has been the top 5, kind of rewards less mediocrity. You've got to still have a decent season to get there. Whereas if you're top 8, you only have to win half your games to get in there, don't you?
Yeah. Matt, your thoughts on Friday? Obviously, are you concerned that we're having a meeting on Friday, 3 games before the end of the season, about the structure in 2019? I mean, it's the most rugby league thing ever, isn't it?
I'm concerned that there's a meeting and that people are expecting there's going to be some kind of resolution at the end of it. The RFL having a meeting is like all your drunken mates going for a curry and trying to decide what to order. And the lower league teams are the ones who are going, oh yeah, I can have a bit of yours, can't I? And all that. It's going to be mayhem. Obviously, what I'm hoping for is an end to the current system, which is just, it's dull. It is dull.
No
okay.
I mean, Martin puts on here. I mean, just to sorry, Matt, interrupt you. Martin says, we need to win on Friday. Cat at home, not away in the semi. It's not a dead rubber. I mean, that is a good way of looking at it, I suppose. But that is. We're trying to find why this game on Friday means something instead of it being Wigan versus Warrington, fifth in the year, as Mark said last week. It's the decider of the series, and we're here talking about anything other than the game on Friday.
Yeah.
What would you like to see, though, Matt? David said, like a 5-team playoff system works really well. An 6-team playoff system, whatever it might be. In terms of promotion relegation, would you like to see something that's been muted of? The top championship side in a playoff system with the second to last Super League side, something like that, because the qualifiers have had, like the £1 million game, for example, it's all the game 2 years ago. That was, in terms of a sporting moment, the Gareth O'Brien's drop goal. You wouldn't have got that if the £1 million game didn't exist. Take away all of this, people are going to lose their jobs and all that kind of important stuff. But would you like to see a competition that still involves Super League versus Championship to get a place in Super League?
I've never been a fan of promotion and relegation. However, I guess I can see that I'm beaten on that argument. So I think there has to be some way for teams to come up, and I suppose therefore there has to be a means of teams dropping out too. So I'll accept there will have to be some kind of promotion and relegation. I think that's got to be through a means of the top team playing the bottom team. To be honest, I'm starting to think in terms of a full breakaway. I think
it could happen.
We really need something different.
I mean, that's the. I think the first point that you made, Matt, about the fact that we're actually having this meeting and to actually expect anything to happen from this meeting on Friday is probably the most optimistic part of the whole aspect of this meeting. Are we expecting, what has been described as the West Yorkshire Mafia to not walk out of the meeting partway through and abstain from votes and try and mess it up in as much possible? That is likely to happen, I think, more than getting a structure sorted. I mean, the whole thing is a mess. It comes back to, I think, people are going to, I think, we're on the verge of a revolution, Matt, not to go back to the point that you made in second edition of Wigan Way, which is still available to purchase in paper copy or free online. But that's let's see what Friday brings. But I'm certainly not holding my breath. I think that's the point that you're making as well, Matt, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I've just remembered that really, really good story.
Are you ready, Matt?
I mean, it's really good.
Okay.
I mean,
You're in closer.
I mean, it's so good.
Give me a moment here.
That most people that are watching have probably already heard it because it was a point that Phil made, and it's not my even point. I thought it was a really interesting story, and I have remembered it. But Phil Jesus, I can see right up both of your noses. The point being,
he's gonna forget again.
Yeah, I am, because I've just seen Peter Meadows point here, and I was like, yeah, he's right. School rugby gets a vote, but Toronto and Toulouse don't. Yeah, because school rugby and places, people like that are part of the RFL.
Where did I hear that? I heard that somewhere.
Yeah, and Toronto and Toulouse aren't part of the RFL. But before I forget the point that Phil was making last week, which is so good that you're just going to be just blown away, was how much has Super League and NRL changed. The fact that Adrian Lamb, 18 years ago, was desperate to come to Super League for a pay rise, and we're desperate to get his son just to try and get some experience for the NRL. So good, and I'm sorry for sending everybody to sleep, but I'm just amazed that I managed to remember it. Yes, back to Peter Meadows' point. There's other people like schools rugby as well, and I can't remember something. But there's random people get a vote. The players don't get a vote. I think, just is the 54 votes or something?
Yeah, but don't Super League clubs get 2, and then the League One and Championships get 1, and it's all kinds of weird.
Yeah, it's bizarre, isn't it? But
it's
that's
a
rugby
madness. League. That's what it is.
That's rugby league for you. If anybody isn't friends with Matt on Facebook, you wouldn't, or might even been in the message that you sent to us. By the end of the season, we need to see Matt in that Romain Navarrete jersey on here, because it's an interesting fit, isn't it, Matt?
I couldn't breathe.
Navarrete looks a lot bigger on telly than he obviously is in real life. It's an interesting fit. It must be one. It
took me 3 hours just to get it off again.
And have you watched it?
No, I haven't. I just love stroking it and thinking of Navarrete.
Okay. And on that note, have you got something prepared for us? Is there something?
I do. Yes.
Mine says Armed Forces. That's the one. Armed Forces. They get a vote as well.
Yeah.
Thank you. Right, I'm going to stop forgetting things, and I'm going to pass over to Matt for Macaulay's Moment, sponsored by All Seasons Gardening Maryport, by our good friend Stuart Minnis, who we couldn't get on the show last week, and who gets married. When does he get married? A couple of weeks, Stuart? Yeah.
Something like that, yeah.
We'll get him on the show before he gets married. Or on
21st, something like that.
Yeah, Matt's best man. Over to you, Matt. What have you got for us?
Okay. Well, you keep asking me for predictions, so I'm going to give you the ultimate prediction tonight. I can just get this on properly. No, like that. Right. Okay. All right.
You did say prediction, didn't you? All right.
Yeah. I did say prediction. Hang on. One of these works. It's this one. Right. I want to welcome you to Mystic Matt's Prediction Emporium, where the future is writ large upon my dusty balls. Got to give them a bit of a rub these days to get them going. Right? You want to know what I'm seeing for the weekend?
Probably not.
Say yes. I am seeing... Hang on, the mists are clearing. I see a woman with a heaving bosom. It's Lee Breers. And he stood next to Steve Price, and they look sad. They look gutted, because there are wolves licking their wounds, and they're all upset. I'm picking up pain and glory for Wigan. I'm picking up 29 points to 16. I'm picking up good vibrations. This is going to be the best win against Warrington yet. And I know this because I'm a Wigan fan, and the Wire are back for more. They're hungry like the wolf, but we'll keep them from the door. They'll come out running hot like a shot from a blaster. Wolves move fast, but Wigan move faster. We've got Sam at the back, Club and Sutty in the pack, Tommy pulling all the strings, and Manfredi is back. Let's make the Wolves yelp, get them really upset. They're gonna need help. We need Navarrete. So put your hands in the air. Let me hear you say, we're gonna beat the Wolves because we play the Wigan way. Put your hands in the air. Let me hear you say, we're gonna beat the Wolves because we play the Wigan way.
That was by far the best one that you've done yet, Matt. Honestly, I feel like you've not been on the show for 2 weeks, and you've been basically back to school. You've not as a pupil, obviously, but possibly. People might not be shocked if they did think that. And you've just basically been doing that instead of lesson plans. That was incredible. It was smooth.
Pretty much have, yeah.
And it's amazing how much that suits you.
Thank you. Thank you. I might wear it on Friday.
I was going to say, you should wear that on Friday and I'll get you a pint.
I'm wearing it Friday.
Oh goodness, Matt, thank you. Thank you for that. And like I say, these two will be at the game on Friday. I won't, but if people want to buy us a drink for the whole game, that will be our end of season party. Should we call it a party? Yeah. If you want to buy Matt a drink just because he dresses up like that, puts a chain around his neck, and actually writes some raps every now and again, that's a website. You can buy us a pint. Be very much appreciated, and we'll all five of us, however many people have been on the show, will share that one pint. So thank you very much. So we're all going for a Wigan win, and who have we got next week? Huddersfield on a Thursday night in front of 3 people and a cowbell.
And a dog.
Yeah, and a cowbell rounding them all up. But anyway, that's next week.
Can't wait.
Yeah, thank you everybody for watching, and we'll speak to you next week. Thank you very much.